Oh, hi. Today we'll talk about some of the fragrances from Gucci's Alchemist Garden line. I have 4 here to discuss, one of which is a recent purchase for me, so that's why I thought it's time to make a video to kind of round up the ones I have and my overall thoughts on them. First, as I often like to give a bit of context, I remember distinctly when the line came out being pretty excited. Some of the reviews were in and said they were all pretty good and pretty interesting. I also remember either shortly thereafter that the pandemic happened and I moved away from New York City for a little bit of time. And so it was really hard to get my nose on them. So I mention that because I remember as soon as I moved back, one of my first stops was to visit the big Gucci flagship and smell these. That flagship in Soho was really nice. At the time, they also had a little bookstore, a very well curated artsy bookstore. If you don't know the fashion side of things, Alessandro Michele was the one that kind of brought Gucci back to relevance. After Tom Ford had left, it kind of waffled to keep its allure that Tom Ford had. And Alessandro Michele came in with his very eclectic, Baroque, decorative, sort of like grandma's closet or thrift store styling. He's sort of a everything in the kitchen sink type of designer. Tons of references, tons of research, lots of historical garments and eclecticism, and it really revived the brand. And so it made sense that on the back of that, they released a new fragrance line that's very much in his style. I was concerned now that he's left and been replaced with someone whose aesthetic is a lot more simple and clean. Some would say boring, myself included. He's kind of just going down the bland luxury route. I believe they had gotten rid of Alessandro because you can't stay at the top for so long, and I think eventually people got a little tired of his style and it just wasn't as hot anymore. But I really think they should have just stuck in there with him because he brought a lot of relevance and a very strong sort of signature to the brand that's now lacking. Anyway, they did not axe the brand after Michele left, thankfully, but I did notice there's 3 new releases. The bottles and boxes are similar but a little less ornate. They've used that Ancora red for one of the bottles, which the new designer is trying to make a signature. And I also noticed they have less poetic names. So as you'll see, all of the releases under Michele are very poetic names. Now they're just named after ingredients like vanilla something. I saw osmanthus, neroli. Still, I'm curious to try these. I haven't yet. I read a few cursory reviews and they sounded pretty good. So anyway, let's get into it. Probably the most special of the ones I have here is Hortus Sanitatis. This was one I was really excited to try out. It was a boutique exclusive. It was available online. As of now, I don't see it online. I haven't asked in the boutique, so it seems like it doesn't exist anymore. It was a limited edition, but I could be wrong. It might be available for those who ask at the boutique. So the initial collection and many of the releases since then were all by Alberto Morillas, and I believe the newer launches are actually by different perfumers. So let's smell this. I must say, out of my collection, these get a little bit neglected and I feel a little bad. And so that's, again, part of the reason I wanted to make this video, to kind of remember that I have these and reinvigorate my interest and wear them again. So yeah, this is, to me, it's really good. It's medicinal, but it has like this very like wet camphoraceousness about it, like wet woods. I wouldn't say wet earth. There's nothing really earthy about it. It lists papyrus, vetiver, cedar, ginger. Very minimal note listings for all of these. Vaguely incensey, but like the cleanest white incensey smoke. To me, there's nothing dark about this. It's very woody, very wet woody. If I could compare it to something maybe like a Comme des Garçons Hinoki, but not as piney as Hinoki goes. Really nice, really interesting. I really love camphorous notes in perfume because it gives me this sense of not only texture but temperature, of like coolness, of like being in a piney, woody forest after it rained on a cool day. Not a whole lot else to say about it. I'll get to some overall sort of observations about the line maybe later as we get going. But I think it's really interesting. It is kind of one of the more special. I did have to pay full retail for it because it was boutique exclusive, and that hurt. But I remember saving up. I remember revisiting that boutique to try it over and over to make sure I wanted it before purchasing it. I think I bought it for myself as a birthday present, if I remember correctly. Probably still my favorite of the line, but again, I have to say I haven't worn it in quite a while. So on to another one that's also quite fresh. I really enjoy the names, by the way. Hortus Sanitatis is named after, I should have looked this up so I get it correct, but off the top of my head, after a old sort of book of remedies, of medicines. Maybe I can read the blurb here so I don't put lies onto YouTube. Hortus Sanitatis, new edition. Latin name for Garden of Health. Yeah, so I'm right. It's the first natural history encyclopedia published in the 15th century. And that's why we love Alessandro Michele. These obscure references, this deep research. Who knows if he had anything to do with the fragrance line, but whoever they hired to do it really had a good continuity with Michele's overall vision for the brand. So a song for the rose. These bottles too, really beautiful, beautiful sprayers. They feel pressurized. Oh yeah, I like that. It's been a while since I wore this, but I'm remembering why I bought it. It's really good. Really kind of juicy blackberry almost at the start. I get a strong berry opening to this. They just say Bulgarian rose, musk, woody notes. But yeah, maybe I'm influenced by the bottle, but I get like purple berries right off the bat. Definitely musky, woody, cedary kind of rose. I'd say right down the middle, kind of unisex. It's not as spicy as like the Le Labo rose with its cumin, but it is very woody to me, especially in the base. I sense a strong dose of ISO-E in the base. The way it wears also is kind of wafty. It lasts all day, but it remains airy, which is also often a characteristic of a lot of ISO-E. But again, overall, they're not overly complicated scents, but they're very well done, which if you've watched my other videos is kind of my wheelhouse. I tend to like that. I like complexity now and then, but I'm happy with a well done, fairly straightforward fragrance, as long as it doesn't smell like a million other things, as long as it has still a strong character and identity. And I think these do. Yeah, I think a cheaper alternative would be the Moschino Toy Boy. I remember trying that and thinking, wow, it kind of smells like a song for the rose, which is a huge price difference. But that one does show its cheapness a bit. I found the base a little overly synthetic and gnarly. Didn't really enjoy the dry down. And from memory, that one's a lot more peppery. So continuing on with Tears of Iris. Again, a lovely iris perfume. This, again, great color matching, really has kind of, it's not like a rooty, damp, earthy, moody iris. It's very much a powdery, makeup-y iris. It has a real texture to it as well, like a creamy texture. These two have like an airy, cool texture. In comparison, this one, yeah, there's like more body to it, more of a creamy body. Not powdery, maybe slightly powdery, but I suppose because it feels creamy, more like a cream than a powder. It doesn't have the dryness of a powder. Yeah, big blast of eye notes. Again, sort of like a freshness holding up the base. I feel like this is a little bit of a signature of Morillas. Things never feel too heavy or weighted down. I think overall, if there's a criticism of the line, especially for the price, they can feel a little bit empty, like a balloon. They're very like diffusive and very like vibrant, but there's like nothing in the middle. There's nothing in the core. Whereas like maybe some of the older, really complex amouages, it feels like the core is so tightly packed and dense with materials. This is sort of the opposite. Again, I like that style. It's a little bit the style of Jean-Claude Elena. So it's not a major knock. I also think maybe part of why they did that is they're also sold as layerable. They sell these oils as well and a different line of like lighter colognes or waters, and you're meant to kind of mix and match everything. I'm not a fan of that. And I do think at least the ones I own stand well enough on their own, but I wonder if that's why they kept them on the simple side. They didn't want them too cluttered so that they could mix and match more easily. Again, it's an expensive proposition. I think at this price point, the perfumes should smell fully complete and fully realized on their own. And this bad boy, my most recent purchase, Voice of a Snake. This one a lot of people don't like, and I can totally understand it. It sort of follows in the lines of the well overdone synth oud fragrance that a lot of people are sick of. But so why did I get this? To me, more than oud, it's a leather fragrance, a really smooth, beautiful, leather fragrance in the dry down. It doesn't mention leather. I believe it mentions oud and saffron. I know that saffron is often given as a something to create a leather smell or a leather accord. Yeah, all it says, oud, saffron, patchouli. It's nice to have one fragrance like this in the collection. I never bought Ombre Nomad. I never bought really any other like designer luxury ouds. And something about this, I just felt like it recently in the cold weather, and I sprayed it on at the store and I was like, oh gosh, I really do like that one. And of course I found it on discounter. I wouldn't pay retail for any of these. The discounter prices still aren't mega cheap, but they're well done. The bottles, of course, are beautiful. I'm sure a good chunk of what you pay is for the bottle and the packaging, which also has this nice little, well, it's probably not silk, plastic probably, a little pouch that they come in. So Voice of the Snake, it's intense, it's hardcore, it lasts forever, but to me it's not loud. It's long lasting, but it's not like, to me Ombre Nomad is loud in a way that it's very diffusive, and it doesn't do that thing I don't like of like a scratchy amber woods base. I wouldn't be surprised if this contains no real oud. It would be nice if it did. It might contain a pinch of it if it's all just like synth oud, but at least it doesn't go down that like scratchy, bitter, sort of like abrasive amber woods dry down. To me, it stays smooth all the way through. You do have to be careful with this. Every garment that I touched the day I wore this still has a vague smell of leather on it, but I like that. But sometimes those kind of perfumes can be a little annoying because if you wear them many days in a row, it's kind of like everything you own is going to have that smell. I did try spraying some rose over it just to see, because again, it's very just straightforward, like oudy, leathery. There's not really this like top high end kind of thing. I didn't particularly like the results of that. Maybe I just really don't like mixing. So it's hardcore, it's oudy, but more than anything, it's like smooth leather, but sort of like not pleather, but like leather with like a shiny finish. It's not like a worn in, like Cuir de Russie, the older style of leathers feel very like an old worn in leather. This is like a very brand new leather jacket kind of smell, but really lovely. I like it a lot. I would choose this over its competitors like Ombre Nomad or things like that. To me, it doesn't really smell all that similar though, to be honest. So that's what I have to say. Again, I guess negatives is maybe they do smell a little bit synthetic at this price point, but I think they're not overly annoying or overpowering or scratchy or harsh, which is why I still like them. They do feel airy in a nice way, but if you prefer a little more density in your perfume, you might not be such a fan. So those are some of my overall thoughts of the line. I've tried many of the others here and there, but I feel like I don't know them well enough to really speak on them. So let's go through maybe just one last time. Yeah, beautiful lotion. This is a very comforting scent, kind of a bedtime scent. A lot of these feel like they have a lot of airy woodiness in them, probably lots of ISO-E. Here, yeah, this still has that nice kind of juicy berryness going on. That aspect of it lasts for quite a while, and I appreciate that about it. Voice of the Snake. Yeah, perfectly named because it's dark, it's smooth, it's sleek, it's black. Hortus. Yeah, still my favorite because it's really interesting, really unique. Yeah, I don't know what else to say, but it just has this real sense of coolness, like temperature-wise, but like cold wetness to it, which is really interesting. One other I'll say that I tried recently, because after getting Voice of the Snake, I was like, wait, in my memory, is that the one I actually wanted? Was Midnight Stroll, which is their incense. So I sprayed it again, because I knew there was like some incensey ones, some oudy woody ones in the black bottles, and I knew there was one on my mind that I wanted. So I sprayed it again, and at first I thought, oh gosh, this one's actually really nice too. But the dry down to me kind of lost me, and I was glad that Voice of the Snake is the one I went with. That's a very green sort of coniferous incense, which sounds great, and I do love that. But the base lost a lot of the incense and just kind of hung on to the green piney thing, which is not the worst thing, but it reminds me of Aesop's Huil, I believe is how you actually say it. It looks like howl without vowels. But I have a few fragrances that dry down to that. So I thought, okay, I made the right move. I don't really have anything that does what Voice of the Snake does. That one's nice, but to me a little boring, falls apart a little bit. It loses some of what I like about the intro fairly quickly in the base, but it's nice. I think it's a good comforting sort of piney incense, but not at the price. But these four I'm happy with, and I'll try to put some more wares on them in the next few months.